So in this lecture, we'll talk about additional price indices. Now, consumer price index is one of several price indices data that's collected by the BLS. One of the most popular price index other than the consumer price index is core inflation index. Basically, it takes the CPI and excludes volatile economic variables like energy and food prices. Why it is done? It is done so that economists can have a better sense of the underlying trends in prices that affect the cost of living, and it's a preferred gauge from which to make important government policy changes. Now, typically in a price index, food and energy are the most volatile in terms of its prices. And the reason those prices changes because of seasonal factors and also because of international factors. For example, any kind of change or any kind of problems in the Middle East typically shot up the oil prices. So US has no control over all those changes. To account for a better gauge of inflation or change in price, often from core inflation index, the price of energy and foods are subtracted. Apart from there is a producer price index, also called PPI. It's a measure of inflation based on prices paid for supplies and inputs by producers of goods and services. So basically, it's also to an extent a wholesale price index. Basically, what the producers are paying for different goods. Now there are international price index. It's a measure of inflation based on the prices of merchandise that are exported or imported. There's an employment cost index. That's a measure of inflation based on wages paid in the labor market. And finally, GDP deflator, which we learned about earlier also. So GDP deflator is a measure of inflation based on the prices of all the GDP components such as consumption, investment, government expenditure, and net exports. Now, there are different uses for all those indices, but for our day-to-day life, the index we typically use is consumer price index.